Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today we're going to talk a little bit about louvers and vents and feeding the film into the part itself. And so a lot of the times you may have a part that comes in that has some really deep recesses in it or something like that. Louvers in this case comes to mind because they are, of course, they have a deep pocket that you need to fill that void with. And so by dipping it a certain way, you can help fill that void a lot better, so then that way you get a lot more deeper access with the film into the part itself. So what we've got here is we've actually got a louver off of a boat. Now again, this could be for anything, but in this case this is for a boat that the customer has asked us to do it all in carbon fiber. And so a couple of things to look at is of course, number one, is this is a very big piece, of course. So we're going to have to, combat that on being able to handle it and hold it as we're dipping and things like that. But also too, this way right here, the film needs to be fed up into these areas compared to if we was to dip it a different way, then the film would just break off right here and then we'd have a line right across, like maybe in here, where the film did not feed up into the actual part itself. So that's something that you definitely want to make sure of, is that you're feeding the film into these louvers instead of dipping it backwards, and then of course the film is just having to roll over the louvers, and then you don't get as good of a dip going down into the water. So let me show you guys a few things on this and let's get this dip. All right, so now that we know that we're going to be dipping this, of course the next thing's going to be we need to roll out the film for the material itself. So thankfully, whenever we have our film here and we look at it, this actually does go past the part itself. So we can actually make this fit with one piece going all the way up like this. Now again, we could easily turn it and do the same thing, make it fit right here, so we can make both sides match and everything's gonna look really good. So of course the biggest thing is that we first need to make sure on which way the carbon is going to go. Now again, most carbon is going to run 45 degrees from the longest side. So because this is actually fairly square, I could go this way, or I could go this way, like that. And so the biggest thing to look at is it's going to be more of a visual preference. Now, 45 from the longest side is going to be, like I said, here and here. But because we already have this line going right here, I'm probably going to say let's take that off and make sure that we have it going this way, so that way visually it looks a lot more appealing and everything doesn't look like it's going just in line with this angle that we've got right here. So that way everything looks really good and the customer is definitely going to like it. So now that we know that we have that, let's flip this over and make sure that we replicate that onto the back of it. So then that way, whenever we go to dip, we know that, let's see here, we know that it's going to go this way. No matter which way we put it in the water, the lines need to be moving like this. So that's a good visual indicator. So next thing to talk about is of course, it's going to be how are we going to feed this up into the film itself? So with something like this, of course, definitely make sure on this, make sure you pull that off or else you're going to have a big line right there. I have actually done that before. It is not a good day, but it's that's another day, another problem. But so how are we going to dip this? So we could take this, turn this around and dip it just like this right here. Now, the problem with going like this is that this film has to come over each one of these and then just break off. And then now, like I was saying before, you're just gonna have a breaking point right in through here, which is not what we want. We don't wanna go in like this because, as I was saying, the first time that it wraps over like that, it's not gonna feed back into it. The water is just gonna rush in, break it apart. That's not what we want. So we know that we're gonna have to actually flip this 180 degrees and we want to feed that pattern up into these slots like this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep it at a little bit of an angle, not a lot, maybe not like this, but we want to keep it up more than we normally would. And so what that's going to do is as we're going down, this film can now feed all the way up into further into all of these areas all the way through here, so that way whenever we go to actually pull it right back out of the water after the dip has a lot better coverage all the way around inside these grates itself. And of course we get really good coverage all the way around because it is flat. But the main thing is feeding that pattern up into these grill grates like this right here. And so this is going to be pretty much the exact same on if you have any grills that are for motorcycles or, you know, automotive, or like a hood scoop that has a grill in it or anything like that. You always want to make sure that you try to feed that pattern up into here, because that's going to give you the best look overall, and it's going to give you the best coverage going up into each of these areas before it breaks off right here, and then you pretty much lose your pattern. So always make sure that you remember that whenever you have some type of grill or grate like this, you always want to feed that pattern up into it. All right, so we just got these all clear coated and finished up, and they came out looking amazing. The customer's definitely going to love them, and we think they came out really great as well. So let's take a look at these. So of course we've got a very high gloss finish over all of it, and we also have really good coverage all the way around and into each of the vents themselves, which is exactly what we wanted. As you saw in the video, or as you saw a little bit earlier, we of course fed that film into the vent, so then that way we got a lot better coverage all the way around. And of course you can definitely see it whenever you're looking at it, because you have full carbon fiber going all the way up into the vents before it cuts off, which is exactly what the customer wanted. Hopefully you guys have liked this video. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them below. We'd love to hear from you on anything hydrographics related, as well as let me know your thoughts on how this came out. I think it came out looking amazing, but we'd always love to hear from you as well. Also, if you haven't already, definitely hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you subscribe to our weekly tips and tricks on anything in the water transfer printing industry. Also, if you haven't already, definitely check out the website. It has everything that you need to get started in the hydrographics. I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts, and this is how we customize your world. We'll see you guys next time.